point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Energy Week, the 664th edition. With me, George Harvey, that's who I am, and the amazing Nancy Wolf.
Oh, thank you.
Who is taller than I am. It's true.
Yes.
But a lot of people are taller than I am.
Oh, okay. I'm also taller than a lot of people.
I believe it. Yeah. I believe it. Anyway, this is a news aggregation show for energy and climate change. We're doing 8 days today, but 3 of them only have 2 entries for them. So it's the same number of things.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's energy and climate change. The material is at my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. You can go to a tiny URL site, which is in the description, and probably somewhere else that you can scroll to. And that is tinyurl/energyweek664, all one word. If you want to read the articles, you can do it. Do I have to tell anything else here? I forget. Anyway, we're starting on Wednesday, the 18th of February, and we're going up until yesterday, which is the 26th of February, and that's what we're doing. We're actually not recording this show on Thursday, which is what we normally do. We're doing it on a Friday, but you know, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're starting with this picture.
Yes. Yes. This is from Renews. Foundation installation complete at 1.2 gigawatt Baltic power.
1.2 gigawatts is a fair amount of electric power. Foundation installation has been completed at the 1,200 megawatt Baltic power offshore wind farm in Polish waters. I want to point out, I actually looked up the capacity of renewable energy in Poland. This is an increase of about 8-9% for the country, so it's significant. The joint venture between Orlen Group and Northland Power installed all 78 monopiles in the array, along with 60 out of 78 transition pieces and 30 of the 76 turbines. So they've been busy.
They've been busy.
But, you know, Poland is ahead of the United States in terms of the percentage.
It is.
And it was one of the most backward countries.
It's a very small, it's not very large.
Yeah.
We're much larger.
Yes. But it was, not very many years ago, one of the most backward countries in Europe in terms of its renewable energy installations.
Right.
And it is ahead of us because we're going nowhere.
We're going nowhere.
Okay. Here is a picture of
Candela Ferry.
Yes.
And Candela is candles in Spanish. So there you go.
You know more Spanish than I do.
Yes, I happen to know a little bit. This is from Euronews. Quiet, comfortable, and low emissions. How this flying ferry is transforming Stockholm's waterways.
Built across 14 islands. I didn't know Stockholm was built on that many islands. Stockholm is naturally suited to waterborne transport. Sounds almost like Venice, doesn't it? Only a bit over a year after it started, an electric ferry project has been declared a resounding success by the Swedish Transportation Administration. One thing about these Candela boats is they go pretty fast. And I don't think you could use craft like this in Venice.
Right.
They would, you know.
Well, Stockholm, I mean, you know, you have to, it's all of the water and you have to get, yeah.
But they have bridges too.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's a bridge in the background of this photo.
Yeah. I'd like to go to Stockholm.
They speak Swedish there.
Yes. I'm aware.
They also speak English. And my bet is that there's a fair number of Germans and Finns who live there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We have a picture of corn growing.
Yeah, we do. So this is from ABC News.
Yes.
And this one's big news. Bayer agrees to $7.2 billion proposed settlement over thousands of Roundup cancer lawsuits.
We usually just talk about energy and climate change, and this isn't energy or climate change, but it really is something to pay attention to, I would say, and I think you'd agree. Agrochemical maker Bayer and its attorneys for cancer patients announced a proposed $7.25 billion settlement to resolve thousands of U.S. lawsuits alleging the company failed to warn people that its popular weed killer Roundup could cause cancer. Now, the reason why they're suing Bayer is because Bayer bought Monsanto. Yeah. Why anybody would want to buy Monsanto, I don't know. I kind of wonder about debt sometimes. People buying debt and betting off of. Anyway, who knows? I don't know. I just, it's like when bought Dow. Who bought Dow? Or, yes. Well, a lot of these, like the weapons manufacturers, they would buy up each other. And so you talk about the nuclear weapons plants, you'd have like Dow Chemical, and then Dow Chemical would be bought up by, I can't remember who bought them up. DuPont.
And you'd have DuPont, you'd have all these other companies that would buy up. And so it just changes. And so when they're doing these lawsuits, it's like they're trying to, you can't find the person who did the crime because it's just.
But the person who bought the debt, and that's the person you go after.
Yeah.
By the way, one other thing, Bayer spent $73 billion buying Monsanto. And this is just increasing the price by 12% or something, if you want to look at it that way. Uh-huh. Roundup, which has glyphosate in it,
yes,
is the source of the problem. And that is used in huge quantities in the United States by agribiz.
Yes.
But it's not for sale for household use. It was at one time.
Yeah, it was.
It isn't anymore.
It isn't anymore.
And what they're using now, I don't know. And personally, I think that's a really bad approach,
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a documentary called King Corn.
King Corn.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the problems of corn and the problems of us using corn as.
There are a lot of problems with corn.
I know. I assumed you would talk about corn, so that's why I'm bringing corn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a large part of my childhood was living in Illinois.
Yes.
And we had cornfields. I lived in 3 different towns, and we were Aurora, which is a population of 65,000 or something, is a city of significant size. Even so, we were close enough to the edge of the city that I could walk to cornfields. Mm-hmm. And in the others, I could walk to cornfields. And so I feel like I know a little bit about what it's like to live around corn. In those days, they didn't have this stuff.
Yes.
But I remember coming to New Hampshire for a summer to visit my grandmother, mm-hmm. and we got corn at a farmer's market that was local, and it was delicious.
Yes. And
the stuff that we had out in Illinois was horrible by comparison. So that was something that kind of opened my eyes. But with the glyphosate and the other stuff that's in the cornfields, what the farmers are trying to do, agribiz farmers
Yes.
are trying to do, is they're trying to kill everything in that field except the corn. They don't want any insects. They don't want any weeds. They don't want any diseases. They don't want any fungus. They don't want anything except the corn. And from my point of view, a cornfield is a 6-inch deep or 8-inch deep or foot deep or whatever toxic waste dump, the size of whatever it is. So if it's a 100-acre cornfield, it's a 100-acre toxic
Right, because
waste
if
dump.
it's killing everything else, then you can't possibly grow anything on that land.
And the runoff goes into the rivers. And what does it do there? It kills fish. It kills mussels, the freshwater mussels that live in the rivers.
I like eating them.
You like eating mussels.
Oh, yes, I
The
do.
mussels you're eating, though, are almost certainly from the ocean. If you go to the Connecticut River, and if the river is really low for some reason, and you look around, you'll see colonies of mussels, but they're freshwater mussels, which is a different thing. And the Indians did eat them. I have no idea what they're like.
Okay.
But, they are there. Okay, we're up to Thursday, February 19th, and we have a picture of a Ukrainian village.
Yeah.
This village, by the way, is in western Ukraine,
Yeah.
in a valley.
Yeah. Well, so this is from the Kiev Independent.
Yep.
So the Ukrainian mountain villages using renewable energy to solve wartime blackouts.
Yeah, as Russian missiles and drones put much of Ukraine into darkness this winter, the mountain region of Ust-Chorna has largely kept the lights on thanks to green energy. The district's 4 villages rely on a small network of hydroelectric power stations. And what I'm reading, and this is something that's just going on and on, nowhere near as fast as it should be, but solar panels are making their way into Ukraine, and batteries are making their way into Ukraine, and people in Ukraine are using these. And so and the Russians are just targeting the electrical infrastructure. They want to bring it down.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, now we have a picture of somebody skiing. I don't know who that is.
Yes. Yes, we do.
What is that young woman's name? Vaughn? Lindsey Vaughn?
Yes.
She broke her leg. Oh, what a horrible accident.
So this is from Euronews. Olympic skiers voice concern over receding glaciers.
Yeah, and they should. U.S. skiers, there's the name, Lindsey Vaughn and Michaela Schifrin, are among many Olympic skiers who have expressed concern about the melt of the world's glaciers. And Olympic host city Cortina is a fitting place for them to be talking about climate change. Glaciers once visible from the town have plainly shrunk.
Yeah.
And this is just something that goes on and on and on. How anybody can hope to be taken seriously saying that climate change isn't happening or that it's a fraud or whatever is beyond me. I can't figure it out. We've seen it in this area. In 1995, there were no ticks in this area.
Right.
Now we've got deer ticks and moose ticks and dog ticks and probably other kinds of ticks. And with the deer ticks, we've got Lyme disease.
Yes.
And the moose ticks are killing the moose. This is not giving them a disease that kills them. They are actually causing them to die of anemia because moose have been found dead. A moose tick, a fully engorged adult female moose tick is the size of a grape. And moose have been found dead with 70,000 ticks on them. They can't survive. And I talked to a person in the fish and game department of New Hampshire, and I asked about this, and she said 80% of the moose calves born in New Hampshire die in their first year because of ticks. 80%.
That's a big
That's a lot.
percentage.
And the moose, the only way they can survive is to go north. And if you're in New Hampshire, that means move to Canada.
Yep.
So actually they could move to Maine, but they're not moving. What they're doing is dying in place, but the ones in the north are extending their range. Okay. This is a nice picture.
Yeah, it is. This is from Clean Technica. Battle over Colorado River water ends in a draw.
Twice, the 7 states that rely on the Colorado River for drinking water and irrigation have been given deadlines by the federal government to find a solution to the chronic lack of fresh water in the river, and twice the states have failed to do so. Now it's up to the feds to impose a solution. Now, I'm going to make a guess here that the feds are going to say, yeah, we'll give the water to Arizona and we'll give the water to Wyoming and California, Colorado, forget it.
Yep. Specifically California. More than anything.
Colorado is, we have a thing about Colorado.
Oh, I know. But California is a very specific.
Yes, it is. We've got a federal government that is operating on the basis of revenge.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely correct.
Yeah. And it says in the Bible, vengeance is mine. So they're all in violation of the Bible. How about that?
Well, what I have to say here is just water wars are just water wars.
There's a solution. And the solution is to put in swales. Lots of swales in the mountains, and that will drive the water underground. And when that happens, the groundwater goes up, we have fewer droughts, and river water will become abundant. This is, I forget the name of the guy in Australia who developed, he had a word for it. Natural what? He was the one who was allowing weeds to grow.
Yeah.
Willow trees and things like that because they block rivers, and he would streams, and he would throw boulders into the streams where this was going on, so that the stream's flow would be slowed down, which pushed the amount of time. I can't remember the name of the system he was using, but his neighbors were really upset because willows take a lot of water, and they were saying, we need that water. And he was saying, the ground needs that water. Well, what happened was they came to realize that the amount of water that was lost to the willow trees was tiny compared to the amount of water that went into groundwater. Yeah. And not only did this benefit him, but it benefited all of them. So his neighbors started doing it too. And there were like 7 or 8 farms in a valley where this was all being done. And they had that horrible, horrible drought that happened a few years ago. Yeah. And the farmers in that one valley didn't lose any livestock, where the farmers around them were killing their livestock in order to ease the pressure on the waters. Okay, we're up to February 20th. We have a picture of Denver. I lived in Denver 75 years ago, and it didn't look like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is from Clean Technica. Coloradans push back on Trump trying to force coal on them.
In Colorado, as elsewhere, the Trump regime claimed an emergency need to keep old coal power plants running. Of course, that's nonsense, especially when the same rain is stopping renewable energy projects that were already approved. Colorado lawmakers are having none of it. People in Colorado are not the only people.
No, and I've personally been around a lot of the anti-fracking
Yes.
folks in like the Boulder, Denver area, and yeah, they're very serious. They're very serious.
I believe it.
Yeah.
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 That's. I remember countryside that looked like this, not bison on it, but
Yeah, with the Front Range. Yeah. Yeah.
Denver did not have buildings like that downtown.
No, and then the tech center opened up and everything changed. Denver changed a lot.
Yeah.
After that traffic, yeah, it changed a lot.
I remember going into Denver, and this might have been 1949, 1950, and seeing Indians standing on street corners wearing top hats with feathers in them. And I asked my father about that, and he said, they're probably men looking for jobs. And, you know, Denver was not the same in those days, and it changed very rapidly.
Yeah, there were people that were moving there from Tibet. There's like this whole Tibetan population that moved in like the 70s or something like that. So there's a whole fascinating
And I liked going out in the countryside. My mother liked going for rides in the countryside, and I enjoyed that quite a lot. Now we have a picture of a boat in the Aral Sea.
Yeah.
It's kind of in trouble.
Yeah, it looks kind of in trouble. This is from Euronews. North Aral Sea regains a third of its water thanks to restoration efforts spearheaded by Kazakhstan.
For decades, the drying Aral Sea has been the poster child of environmental catastrophe. By the mid-20 teens, it had lost about 90% of its water. But the government of Kazakhstan has had some success working on restoration. That boat picture is interesting because the boat has no rudder, it has no propeller. The ladder on the cabin is missing. The windows are missing. The doors are missing. Everything that was usable was taken off that boat. They had no expectation that that boat was ever going to be used again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to go on, if you don't mind.
Let's go
Here
on.
we have a picture of cocoa taxis in Havana. By the way, the U.S. government has told people who go to Havana, do not use cocoa taxis. They're not safe.
Okay.
Well, would you trust the Cuban government or the American government?
The Cuban government. Yeah.
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 Unfortunately, that's the position we're in nowadays.
We trust almost every other country but our own. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is from A New Z.
Yeah.
The headline here is Cubans adopt solar energy as blackouts and fuel shortages deepen crisis.
Cubans are increasingly turning to solar energy to keep businesses operating and basic household appliances running during prolonged electricity cuts as fuel shortages make diesel generators and other temporary solutions more difficult and costly to maintain. Now, of course, what's happened here is that the U.S. government has decided to blockade any energy products going to Cuba. And when they took over the energy in Venezuela, they prevented anything from being shipped to Cuba. I will tell you, I'm embarrassed. I really am.
Yeah. Cuba has great health care. Cuba also has no access to a lot of things. And so you see old cars everywhere because there are not new things coming in. And so you have an incredibly industrious people who make do with what they've got and what they have access to. And they're able to innovate with restrictions.
They can keep an automotive battery going for years beyond what it would be done in the United States. They're very careful of those old cars. They repair the old cars.
Yes, they repair that's the whole thing. Yes, they repair. Everything gets just repaired. Well made, prepared.
And unfortunately, what is it you do with oil? Refining that's done in Cuba is not high quality, and so those cars emit a lot of nasty stuff.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they're just trying to live.
Yeah, they're trying to live, exactly.
And the United States has not been kind to them in general, and there are exceptions. Barack Obama was kind of an exception, but
yeah. So he's like, why are we?
The problem with Cuba in the minds, when I was a kid and Fidel Castro took over, Cuba had the same problem that Russia had in the 1920s, where they would say, "Oh, a railroad locomotive? It's ours because everything belongs to the state." And then what happens is the maker of the locomotive says, "Well, wait a minute, you owe money for that." And they say, "We didn't borrow money for that. The Tsar borrowed the money. Get it from him." Now, in essence, the Cubans went through the same problem with the Americans in the late 1950s. And it was the oil industry who discovered that Fidel Castro was going to take their refineries away from them and not pay them. Well, I'll point out that was 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Is there a statute of limitations on this?
I don't.
We're punishing people who weren't even alive.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, let's look at this.
Yeah, let's look at that. So, yeah, okay. So this is from Euronews. How space-based solar could help us go past net zero targets.
A space-based solar power system consists of a large number of sizable satellites. Sizable means, in this case, absolutely gigantic, and Elon Musk wants to put 1 million of them up. In high Earth orbit, where the sun is visible over 99% of the time. A study commissioned by the UK's Energy Department suggests that small-scale space-based solar power could be cost competitive as early as 2040. Now, I don't believe it. And I looked a little bit into this.
My face doesn't believe it either. No.
Estimates range from a cost per kilowatt hour for these larger systems, 61 cents to $1.59 per kilowatt hour. That is the cost of the electricity, of making the electricity. What is that going to be sold for? $4 a kilowatt hour? I don't know. Ground-based solar and wind goes for 2 cents to 5 cents.
Yeah.
And they're going from 61 cents to $1.59.
Because they're like, it's space. It's so fun. We'll just do it in space. And then we can have all this, all kinds of industrial plants in space and not on Earth anymore. Let's just do it in space. I think I don't, anytime Musk is like, oh, let's put it in space. He just does that all the time. He's like, let's put nuclear waste in space. Let's just put that in space.
Put this in space and I'll charge you a low price to get it there. He's drumming up business for himself. And he's doing it in a way with, I don't know, I remember seeing an interview with his mother where she was talking about the fact that he was a genius. I have a son who's a genius. I'll tell you something, I know geniuses. I know a bunch of geniuses. And if you look at the movie Amadeus,
yes,
you see that
movie.
It's a great movie and it has a genius in it.
Oh, it does. Yes, it does.
Mozart was a genius.
Absolutely.
He was also reprehensible.
Oh, yeah. He was a horror show. Oh,
he was
yeah.
a horror show. And I think I think Elon Musk might be a genius, but he's definitely a horror show.
Well, he's definitely a horror show. I'll get back to you on
Yeah.
the genius part.
We'll see about the genius part. Okay. We are up to here.
Yes. Here is where we were up to.
Yes.
So this is from Renews.
Yes.
RWE signs with Vestas for 1.4 gigawatt Vanguard West turbine deal.
RWE has confirmed a contract with Vestas to supply 92 turbines to its 1.4 gigawatt Vanguard West offshore wind farm off East England. The OEM will also be responsible for delivery and commissioning of the V236-15 megawatt units. By the way, V236 is the diameter of the windswept diameter, and 15 megawatts is 15 megawatt units at the array. RWE aims to bring the project online in 2029. I'm seeing this every day.
Yeah.
You know, I put these in because it's representative of something
Yes.
that is just there
Right.
all the time. And every day I see these deals. Every day it's a couple. It would be interesting to go to Renews. I don't have the ability to do this, but it would be interesting to go to Renews and list the projects that are being put up, the capacity of those projects, and just find out on an average day how many are going in that Renews is reporting, because a lot of them Renews doesn't report.
Right. You could probably find that by a tag. If they tag renewables, then you just click that button and you probably find all the renewable news of.
It's wild. And here again, we have a global marketplace. It is probably the biggest market that has ever been developed. It's been developed in the last 20 years. China is making out incredibly well on this, and the United States is getting nothing. Why? Because we're not interested in being in the market.
No.
Well, we are interested in being in the market, but it happens that the leadership that we've got is interested in
Something else.
something else. Okay, this is something I can talk about.
This one.
What?
Yes, this one. This is from Tomorrow's World Today.
There it is.
U.S. lab is turning nuclear waste into electricity.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Right now, untreated nuclear fuel stays radioactive for about 100,000 years. I'm going to call that a lie, because it isn't 100,000. It's not like 100,000 years passes and suddenly, watch your watch, keep track of the calendar, because when we get to the date, it's going to be safe. It isn't. It's not going to be. It's going to be marginally safer 100,000 years from now compared to what it is 90,000 years from now. But let me go on. However, by using a process called transmutation, scientists can turn that waste into different materials that will be much easier to handle. This could drop the storage time from 100,000 years to just 300 years. Now, there's a backstory here that I happen to be familiar with because I wrote white papers on this subject with a friend of mine who was unfortunately is no longer with us, but he was pushing this because he wanted to get rid of the nuclear waste 30 years ago. And I wrote about that for Clean Technica. Basically what happened was Carlo Rubbia, who was the director of CERN, produced a group of people, a working group and my friend was a working group leader at CERN, which is how I knew about it. But Carlo Rubbia produced a working group, and he said, I want you to design a new kind of nuclear reactor. I want it to be a reactor that will take materials other than the uranium that we've got processed going into nuclear reactors today. I want it to be a process, to do a process that will produce no material that can be used in nuclear bombs.
Okay. I'm
want
listening.
Yeah, I want it to be to have no long-term nuclear waste.
Okay.
And they came up with this thing, and this picture is a I think the last part of the puzzle, and it's not completely done. This picture is from the United States Department of Energy, but it is an important part of the puzzle. What you do is you have a particle accelerator that accelerates protons.
Okay.
And those protons are directed into lead or mercury or some kind of heavy metal, where collisions of the protons with the atoms in that metal cause what is called spallation, where neutrons are just blown away, and they go into a big vat where you've got, he said, 7,000 tons of lead. Literally, that's what he said, with nuclear waste in it. And these neutrons will bounce around. They'll bounce from one atom to another until they hit a radioactive atom at exactly the right energy level, because every bounce they lose a little bit. But many of them will hit an atom at exactly the right energy level to cause a nuclear event on that one atom. And if you just do this, you get about 90%, you get heat out of the process.
Right.
10% of which goes into powering your particle accelerator. And the rest of it just goes into doing this. The waste that comes out of there after 300 years is what, in his words, about as radioactive as coal ash. Now, coal ash is not something you want to play with.
Right.
It's not good for you.
Yes.
But nevertheless, you reduce the nuclear waste. And I did a calculation about this. And because he said, well, people are going to say the fact that you can do this means that we can have regular nuclear power plants. And so I said, okay, let's say that we build a reactor of an accelerator-driven system. And that reactor produces as much electricity as Vermont Yankee did. And let's say that we just feed the waste in the spent fuel, the drywall containers at Vermont Yankee. We feed that waste into that reactor. How long would you be able to power the reactor that you built out of that waste? And my calculation, I said, about 500 years. There is no excuse for building a nuclear power plant based on the existence of this thing. But nevertheless, it does mean that we could get rid of the nuclear waste that we've got. There are some, I remember Steve was talking about, Steve was actually on this show a couple of times, but and pushing this particular issue.
Steve
Rucroft. You've never heard of him. He was my daughter's physics teacher.
Oh, okay.
That's how we got to know each other.
Okay.
And he was, concerned because he said people would say, with this, you would be able to keep nuclear power plants going. The fact is, we would be producing nuclear waste far faster than we could use it.
Yes.
But nevertheless, this is something. This thing is Steve said that we needed a small particle accelerator, and he believed that one would be developed. And this thing is a small particle accelerator. He believed that a circular power accelerator would do the job, but it would have to be about 36 feet across, and at a minimum. And he said, we're going to get small inline particle accelerators, which is what this is doing. And the DOE is doing it. They funded it to the tune of $6 million or something like that. And, there's a part of it, it's, I think it's called Jefferson Lab.
Right, yep.
And one thing that I wanted to mention is one of the things that they did here to make this work was they put inside that they plated inside that thing the cavities of a niobium tin alloy, which was plated through vapor diffusion, which you have to do at about 1,000 degrees Celsius. But this thing will run at 18.3 degrees Kelvin, which is 426.73 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit.
See, I haven't heard Kelvin since I was in physics.
You know.
But I liked. I took the.
You liked physics?
I took AP Physics. That's how much I liked physics.
I loved geometry, but
see, geometry not into. Physics very into. But the physics taught me trigonometry, so
good.
I learned it from the physics because for me, I needed to understand why.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I had to take 3 math courses and 1 science course. I took biology, chemistry, and physics. That does for 1 science course. For math, I did Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, Trigonometry, Calculus, Matrix Algebra, and Probability.
So you did
I was a nerd.
Yeah.
I still am a nerd.
Yeah.
I like being a nerd.
Yeah, it's fun.
So that's what that is doing. We should go on.
Yes,
We're
we
a few minutes
should.
behind schedule here.
We are behind schedule here. This is from the Straits Times.
Yes.
Solar sheep help rural Australia go green.
Australian farmer Tom Warren put in solar panels where his sheep had been grazing. Installing a 20 megawatt solar array added some income from solar power. It also made a difference because the income he got from wool increased by 15%. The wool was better and cleaner than it had been before the panels were put in.
Yeah. You know, I love me some agrivoltaic. You know how?
Yes.
I love it.
This is like the Fraunhofer Institute and the University of Arizona. The same year did the same experiment, very similar, planting potatoes in the open and under solar panels. Otherwise, their fields were next to each other. And they both had increases in the amount of potatoes that were harvested when they were grown under the solar panels. Okay, I'm going to go on. And we have this. We're up to Monday, February 23rd.
Yeah, so this is from Renew Economy. State Labor pledges huge renewables tender.
The South Australian Labor government went into caretaker mode ahead of the March 21st state election, but not before locking in plans to launch a major competitive tender for new solar, wind, and storage projects if it gets reelected. It opens over 11,000 square kilometers of land for development. That's 2,718,000 acres.
That's many acres.
Yeah, well, they did this obviously as a political ploy. And honestly, based on what I've seen of South Australia, if the Conservatives win, they'll probably just do it. Years ago, South Australia worked up a whole bunch of stuff under a Labor government that included virtual power plants and stuff like that. And the Conservative government was elected, and it said, we're going to do away with those as soon as we're elected. They didn't like renewable energy. They got elected and they looked at the numbers and they said, whoops, we think we're going to keep that. So in South Australia, both ends of the political spectrum seem to be supporting.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Oh, yes. So this is from Clean Technica. Trump promises coal jobs, delivers tariffs.
Yeah, isn't that great? Trump has been focused on like 1,000 points of light on juicing domestic coal consumption by propping up old coal power plants, but it's not necessarily going to save coal jobs. The misbegotten tariff war adds a level of uncertainty to the picture, particularly in regards to metallurgical coal. That's metallurgical coal burning. By the way, you remember Obama's war on coal? So we had George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, now Donald Trump again. What one of those people was the worst on coal? The answer was Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And the second worst was, it's kind of hard to tell, but the peak was hit with George W. Bush in office. Yeah. And the Dow Jones Coal Index declined by 75% while he was in office from the peak. And then it went up with Barack Obama in his first term, but it went down in his second term.
Yeah.
And from that position, it was the coal index just stopped reporting with Donald Trump in office. Although there are two coal indexes, and the other one still reports, but the one, DJUSCL, just stopped reporting in 2020. Okay, here we have the Indian Point nuclear power plant.
Yes, we do.
Which fortunately is no longer in business.
No longer in business, and more things get shipped to other plants because when you close one, then the New York State blast Governor Cuomo wanted to send to build more plants. Yeah. But yes. This one is close to me, this story. It's from Science Daily, and which has studies on there. And the headline here is, massive U.S. study finds higher cancer death rates near nuclear power plants.
A nationwide study that was led by researchers from Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, you'd think that they're probably competent, reports that U.S. counties situated closer to operating nuclear power plants have higher cancer death rates than counties that are farther away. And I did look into this. There had been previous studies that basically said the same thing. But of course, is the federal government ever interested in reporting things like that?
No.
It's sad.
No, and this is a major issue, and this is a hidden major issue. And I've been making a film just to help people, not with nuclear power, but just to help people understand about what's in their backyard and how does that affect their health, and how do they figure out how to survive and deal with where they bought their house or where they live and how their family and friends can, So this is important.
It is. And as you say, it's not just nuclear energy. It could be tires.
Yeah, and industrial, and any sort of industrial
waste,
chemicals, all of those things will affect people's bodies.
Yes. Yep. Okay, I'm going to move ahead.
Yeah.
We have this is a picture of Vienna University.
Yeah. So here, it's from Euronews. Climate action is the world's cheapest insurance policy, new study says.
The climate crisis is no longer measured only in degrees in carbon targets, but in hospital admissions, lost hours of work, failing infrastructure, and public money drained from already strained budgets, according to an academic study from Vienna University. And what they're saying, obviously, is we've got a lot of reasons beyond climate change to deal with climate change, to act on that. And anyway, Euronews has the information for anybody who's interested in seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on again.
Yeah.
These are community members at a place called Urban Tilth.
Yes. So this is from Clean Technica. The important role that Black communities play in addressing climate change.
Arising in response to growing climate crisis and its far-reaching social, ecological, and political implications, many Black communities are working to mobilize, organize, and strategize. They work in areas from hyper-local actions to global next steps. This group, Urban Tilth, and probably not any of the same people, was one that has appeared on this show before, and I'm talking about maybe 8 years ago. They've been around for a while, and they're growing things in Chicago. Places like that.
Yes.
And they're producing food, which is used by local families.
Yes.
So that's something that I think is important.
Very important. Very important.
Yes.
I have spent time around a lot of urban gardener types. I knew some urban gardener types, and they're pretty radical folks.
They are, but the thing is, producing food is not radical activity. It's something that has to be done.
Yeah. Yes, I know. Yes.
I mean, there are people.
But radical, the word radical means root.
Yes.
So it really just is the root. It's just this is the source.
We're up to Wednesday, February 25th, and we have a picture here of a Google data center.
Yeah. So this one's from Canary Media.
That picture is in color, by the way. It's not just a black and white picture.
Yeah.
And it's sad that people build buildings like that.
Yep. Gigantic form energy battery to power Google data center in Minnesota.
Well, this is an interesting story. And it is also, I've been looking at Form Energy for years, expecting it to come out with something. And it's already building one place in Maine and another place in Minnesota and another place, I think, in Georgia. But this is a new one in Minnesota. Form Energy is still building its first commercial project in Minnesota, but it just revealed that it has clinched a potentially game-changing follow-up to support a Google data center in the same state. The 300 megawatt battery will have an energy capacity of 30 gigawatt hours. Now, 30 gigawatt hours is more than half of all energy capacities of all batteries put in the United States last year. This is unbelievably big. And, that first battery that was put in South Australia, Elon Musk made a bet. Do you remember that? I think it was about 8 years ago. There was a terrible storm in South Australia, and
Yes, I remember that one.
It was down for days. And Elon Musk said to the government of South Australia, if you will put in a big battery, 100 megawatts, I will guarantee that battery will be up and running in 100 days, or you get it for free.
Right.
And they put out, a request for bids, which Tesla won. They signed a contract. Tesla was already installing before the contract was signed because they knew it was going to be signed. So they just started installing this thing. 97 days after the contract was signed, they had a storm, and the battery, such as it was at the time, was delivering power to the grid. And he had it done in 100 days.
Yes.
Now that was 100 megawatts and 130 megawatt hours. This is 300 megawatts and 30,000 megawatt hours. 130 megawatt hours versus 30,000 megawatt hours.
You see, I'm a little bit nervous about these kinds of things. Why? Because it's for a Google data center.
Yes,
And the
I know what you mean.
problem I'm having is when you have all these data centers, you were just priming people up for more and more massive amounts of energy consumption.
Yes.
Which,
I invented a way to do artificial intelligence.
know.
And it could be done on normal home computers.
you might not have to do all the mining, you mean?
You might
The
some
data
of
mining?
this,
No? Okay.
some of this kind of AI that they're doing would still be done, because the way what I developed was not useful for processing photographs, for example. But for processing ideas that are stated in language, it was pretty good. And it was, but nobody wanted it.
I just think that our artificial intelligence dumbs us down.
I think you're right. Okay, we're up to this.
Yes, we are. So this is from your news. Rising temperatures are putting Tour de France athletes' health at risk, study finds.
Many of Europe's biggest sporting events take place in the summer, but the progressive creep of climate change and resulting rising temperatures pose a growing threat to athletes, a study finds. Researchers specifically studied the data for the Tour de France, which, is something that people know.
Yes, it is something that people know.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go on again.
Yes, go on again.
And we're up to our last
Yes.
item.
Yes. So this is from Clean Technica. Electric buses were 56% of EU city bus market in 2025.
I asked artificial intelligence what percentage of buses worldwide are supplied with electric. And the response was 8%. And I said, and it said 8%, and then it went on and it said almost 100% of the buses going into China are electric. And I said, what percentage of the world bus market is in China? And it said 56% or something. All right, never trust artificial intelligence. Okay, Transport and Environment published some information about how much growth there had been in the electric bus market, saying, quote, 6 out of 10 new European Union city buses were zero emission in 2025, as battery electric and fuel cell powertrains made up 56% and 4% of new sales, respectively, end quote. So I like that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we're, as I said, up to the end of the program.
Yes.
And so we wish everybody to have a perfectly delightful week.
Yeah.
And we'll wave goodbye. We hope you will come back next time. We hope you enjoyed this show. I looked forward to this show because it had some really good stuff.
Oh, me too. Oh, I was looking forward to this very much so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say that I hope next show has got as much exciting stuff. There's a point at which it gets too exciting, but we hope that we have good news next time.
We hope we have good news.
Yes. Bye.